Hey guys, it's Kat, and today I'm going to be talking about how to get over a toxic relationship. I do want to preface by saying none of this is to bash on my ex, because really that solves nothing, and that's just not what this is about. You know, to be over someone, you have to let go of the hurt and the hatred and whatever negative emotions you have towards them as well. This is awkward because I'm filming this right in front of my window where any of my neighbors can see me. Okay, so we're going to start with the fact that once you get that realization that you are in a toxic relationship and you need to get out. Ending it's obviously the first step. That's going to be hard. It is going to hurt a lot, and it might seem more convenient to not, but in the long run, it's going to be so much better if you do end it. For you and that person and both of your guys' futures, you're not going to be over them when you make that realization. You're going to still care, and it's going to hurt, but you have to figure out how you're going to let go. Once you've figured that out and ended it all, I think truthfully it'd probably be easiest if you can completely disconnect from that person, but if you do have to keep in contact with them, I would keep it as minimum as possible. So for an example with me, I have a daughter with the person that I was in a relationship with, and truthfully it was never really a healthy relationship because I was 14 when we got into the relationship, so I was just immature, and I take full credit for my own personal problems that led into it being toxic. This is not just on him or anything. I will fully admit that a lot of it was me and being an immature child. So now I'm 19. To give an age thing, I'm gonna be 20 in a few months. That's weird to say. And honestly, even once you're over the person, you may still have to work through the relationship stuff, and I think that's more so what I struggled with. I had tried multiple times to get over this relationship, and I just felt like it was never going to happen. It was never going to work. And I'd always get sucked back in. And a lot of that was, like I said, my fault. I'll take credit for that. That's why I said it's best to try to just cut it all off and focus on you. I know some people will say getting with someone else helped them or whatever that is. I guess to each their own. I think if you're not fully over a person, that's going to end up hurting both of you, but I mean, like I said, to each their own. I tried that and that just did not work for me. When I fully got over him, I focused on bettering me. I became an STNA. I started just my life and getting stuff together. I focused on my daughter. I just focused on bettering myself entirely. I was in therapy for postpartum depression from November till actually I just got out of therapy this month. And it is currently April of 2020, so that was a lot of progress. I still have anxiety, I still have anger issues, I still have to work through things like a normal human does. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I am working on it. And I am able to manage on my own now. From therapy, I got the tools that I needed to be able to, the strategies, techniques, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do it on my own. And I think therapy can be really beneficial. We actually went to therapy together, and it didn't work. And I knew that it was time. And I think I knew for a long time that it wasn't going to work. Especially once we had our daughter, I just fought for it so much because I just did not want her to be in the situation that I was. I was raised by a single mom, and my parents got married. It was a really bad situation. They tried to make it work and it just didn't, and it was toxic, and then my mom got out of it, and I think it was honestly forever just not a very good situation, and I didn't want that for my daughter. And truthfully, that's not what I'm getting. Her dad is involved in a good dad, and I'm involved in a good mom, and we're just figuring out how to co-parent. So like I said, getting over the person is the first step, and that's difficult in itself. I don't have any magical strategies for it. You just do it. You go about your life and work toward the better life for yourself and maybe your family or whatever it is that you have, your dreams, your goals, and you focus on that and prioritize that. And maybe you get a hobby or something that you throw yourself into. I started back in school in January, and I didn't think I could do it. The whole time we were in that relationship, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't think I'd be good enough, and that's not his fault, that's on me. But I did it, and now I'm doing it. So the main thing to remember is why you're doing it. For me, a lot of it was just that I didn't want that toxic situation for my daughter. Although I didn't want her to grow up parents that weren't together, I more didn't want her to see the toxic relationship, to set that example for her, and to have her in that unhealthy situation. So that was a huge part of it for me. However, it's much easier if you can figure it out before you have kids that you don't want to be with somebody, because co-parenting is very, very hard. I used to not think it was possible to move on, like I mentioned previously. It was just difficult. And it sounds silly looking back on. I was just immature and I guess kind of ignorant, and you know, sometimes it does feel like you can't move on from stuff, but you can. You are strong enough and you can do it and you can get through it and you can thrive from it after. I almost feel like I had to go through a process of like mourning and grief of like the relationship that I thought it was, but it wasn't that, and what I wanted that it wasn't, and kind of just go through the motions of like grief. And I feel like that sounds kind of silly, but I think I've heard that before, that like the different stages, that's kind of how you work through it. And the same goes for like getting over the relationship itself, which like I said, I think was the hardest part for me, like getting over the fact that I wanted that to work so badly and it didn't. I didn't know where to go from there because I've always wanted a family, and then I was kind of getting it but kind of not, and it was a mess. My life will always be a mess. There's no such thing as a perfect life. You just make the best of the life that you have, and that's the life for you. That's the perfect life for you. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, so, you know, there is that. I will be honest, I am a Christian and I believe in God, and I am not the best follower, but I do try, and that's what matters. I don't like to talk about it much, as I say every time I do mention it, because I just don't want the criticism, and it's between me and God, my relationship with God, and I think that's what helped me through it a lot, was having something, a reason to keep going. I mean, more than just my daughter, more than just myself, but yourself is enough too. Like, yourself is enough reason to better yourself, better your life, cutting that person out. Now, I'm not encouraging people to just like cut off a relationship because it gets too hard. I'm saying once it becomes toxic and it's just not a good situation, neither of you are like going to work out well and be happy doing so. Because all relationships are hard and you have to put work into them to make it work. But if it's just not working, it's not working. My faith really helped me through though, because it helped me find my self-worth. It helped me find so much that I felt like I had lost. And in general, the relationship ending, it brought up all kinds of things like trust issues and everything else. Luckily, I'm not a person that struggles too much with trust issues. I'm kind of an open book. And I feel like that's because if like you have secrets and stuff that you don't want people to know, like I have this weird thing where then you fear that they're gonna get out, and I just don't like that, so I'm just very open about everything to anybody. And I guess I just don't care. It can't be used against me if I don't care for it to be. And maybe that's like a weird, maybe not even a healthy trait that I have, but that is something about me. So I didn't have a ton of issues with that, but I do have commitment issues, so that was kind of hard when I did start dating again, and now I'm in a healthy relationship, and it's really weird to see the differences between how I was even in my previous relationship to now. I mean, it's been over a year. People have different lengths that it takes them to move on. I don't think that it just takes a few days or a few weeks, or maybe even a few months might be pushing it for getting over a person in the relationship. Sometimes it's so weird because, you know, we are co-parenting, so like it's just very weird how much things have changed. Like, we don't talk, we didn't remain friends, we are just civil. We tried being friends and it didn't work. It would suck us back in, and that doesn't work for me. I think maybe years down the line, with some people that could be fine. For us, I don't think we will ever be like friends. But to be fair, I don't think we were very good friends prior. Like, I didn't have the best choice in like healthy friendships either when I was younger, so there's that. But I have seen a lot of people where they are like friends with their ex because they have kids, and they're friends with their person's significant other. I could actually see that being more of a thing, me being close with like my daughter's dad's significant other. I don't know what that situation is right now, but like later on down the line, going to like events and whatnot for her, I would be fine with that, but I would not be like close friends with him. But that's just because that's a personal preference for the both of us have agreed upon, so you just have to figure out how to make it work. One little tip I wanted to make sure to throw in, because I don't think I talked about it enough, I think that it's important to set boundaries if you do have to like keep in touch with the person. And I'm not meaning that you have to cut the person out forever and that you have to be like rude to them or anything by any means. Wouldn't recommend being rude to people in general, but setting boundaries so that way you can move on well and thoroughly. Because if you're still in contact and like keeping up to date with each other, like that's going to make it a lot harder. And that is where I'm kind of thankful that both me and my daughter's dad were in on wanting to split up, and that neither one of us were like heavily trying for it, like at the very end, to get back together. We were both adamant about like not being together, because I think that really helped with being able to set boundaries. I mean, he was actually really good at like keeping boundaries, so he didn't like get sucked back in. That is very important, and I think that's probably one of the key elements to doing it, because if not, you just get sucked back into it, especially like the whole on and off thing. That's how him and I were like almost the entire relationship, and you don't want that. I can make a whole different video on co-parenting, but I just really wanted to talk about like getting over a toxic relationship, because I hate to see people miserable and in unhealthy relationships and ending up really hurt. And you know, like I said, everything does happen for a reason, but I want to see people happy. And I know a lot of friends that end up stuck in bad relationships that they just gotta move on from, and they can waste so much time just not realizing it soon enough. And sometimes people waste like 20, 40 years on relationships that shouldn't have continued past a very short period of time. So I just wanted to give some motivation that you can get through it, it's possible, and that I don't have any magical advice, but I just wanted to share my piece on how I did it and how I felt it went. I mean, I will always care for her dad because he's her dad. I think there was a point where I felt like I hated him, but if you hate, you are still caring. You care enough to hate. And I don't think that's very good either. I mean, I'm not a therapist. I'm not trying to say that any of this is how you should do it. I don't know. I've learned that you gotta try to keep it chill. I don't know. I try to avoid like bashing him, and especially in front of her. That was a piece of advice that everybody gave me, is, you know, no matter how bad it gets, try to keep your cool around her. If you need to vent to your trusted friends or whatever, that's one thing. Try to not bash your kid's other parent in front of them, and in general to like the general public or anything. But I do think it's okay to like vent, and I think it's good and healthy to vent and get your emotions out. And some people do that without actually having to speak them. Some people write journals. Exercising helped me, and just like finding myself again as a single mom. Because not only was I leaving a relationship that I had been in and having to find myself, and in a time where I'm a teenager trying to find myself anyways, I'm also a mom trying to navigate through all of this. And doing it, I don't say on my own, and obviously I'm a Christian, so I have God. I mean, we all have God, but, you know, that's how I look at it. My camera died, but I wanted to finish this video off by saying I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that if you are in an unhealthy situation, that you can get yourself out of it and become happy. I just want everybody to be happy. As naive as that sounds, it's possible. It's all about perspective and making the best of situations. And if you're unhappy, fix it. And I understand that there's different mental health things that, you know, that's not always possible, but just try to make the best of it and get help that you need. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Bye!